All right, so I think first off, we'll go ahead and go around and introduce ourselves and start with a little icebreaker. So I can go first. My name is Becca Tate, and oh, hold on, and a few more couple people in. There. Bernie, do you think it'd be best to start with introductions and then do the icebreaker, or we could do it all together?
We can do it all together. Yeah.
Perfect. So our icebreaker question, so folks can be thinking about it, is if you could teleport anywhere for the next hour, where would you go? And I can go ahead and start first. My name is Becca Tate. I am the chapter representative for SCB North America, and I am also a part of UC Davis's chapter, just as a community member. And I live in Sacramento, California. And if I could teleport anywhere for the next hour, I would probably go to Australia. And I would love to snorkel at the Great Barrier Reef. And I'm sure an hour is not enough time, but that sure beats the whole plane flight to get down there. So it's probably where I would go. Next on my screen is Bernie, so I'll let you go next.
Sure. So, hi, everyone. I'm Bernie. I am the Director of Operations and Programs for SCBNA, which means that I helped run all of our different committees and support the board in all of our different programs. And if I could teleport anywhere for the next hour, I think it would be Japan. I've always wanted to go, and I've had a lot of Japan travel videos show up on my feed lately. So I think it's just in my mind. And I'll pass it on to Anderson.
Great. Yeah, I'm Anderson Tate. I'm the president of SCB North America. I work very closely with Bernie, and he runs all the committees and does all the coordination, which means that I run or help with a lot of the strategic planning, organizational capacity, making things sure that things are running smoothly and kind of on time, and that everybody's getting the information that they require. I also represent the Society on Business internationally and domestically here with the United States, Canada, and Mexico. So I do a lot for the society. If any questions at any point, you can always email me. My email is always open. And if I go to one place in an hour, I think I would go to Kauai for an hour, just sit on the beach and relax for an hour and then teleport back to work.
Who do you pass it on to, Anderson?
Oh, let's see. Well, Dale's the first on my list, so Dale, you go for it.
Hi, everyone. I'm actually in the process of reinstating the Toronto chapter as a club at the University of Toronto with Megan, who's also on this call. So we're just here to kind of observe. Um, if I could teleport anywhere for an hour, I agree with Anderson that I would love to be on a beach. I would probably choose the south of France and have a dessert and a glass of wine. And just for background, I'm a PhD student at the University of Toronto, so is Megan. And that's it for me.
Megan, I think that means you go next.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah, like Dale said, we're both at University of Toronto looking to reinstate that chapter. So I'm excited to see what happens tonight. But yeah, if I could teleport anywhere for the next hour, maybe Switzerland. I've always wanted to go and it's expensive. Definitely not enough time, but that's what I choose.
Jenny, why don't you go next?
Hi, my name is Jenny. I am restarting the Wisconsin chapter with Alex Mathers, who is not here tonight, but we're kind of doing that together. We were both part of the student chapter at UW-Madison, and so after a few years of school and everything, we came together and we want to restart up the state chapter because it's been inactive for a bit. So that's why we are here. Well, that's why I'm here. And then if I could teleport anywhere, oh, this is hard for only an hour. I I would go to Morocco because I have always thought that it would be really cool, and it's definitely not enough time, but yeah, I think I would go there. Oh, I'll pass it off to Julia.
So I think Julia added her response to the chat. She says she's from the Kingston chapter, hosted at Queen's University, and she would love to go to Antarctica, since it's always been a dream of hers to go there. Thank you, Julia. And no worries at all about not being able to join with the mic at the moment. And I think, Joy, you're the last one. Joy? I think Joy may be having some issues with her mic as well. So, Joy, if you can hear us and you want to comment later, feel free to do so in the chat. Otherwise, Becca, maybe we can just move on for now.
Sounds good to me. Alrighty. Well, Anderson here is going to start with the opening of our presentation. And yeah, I was just going to say, and Bernie, thank you for controlling our presentation for him.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'll just launch right into it. So, welcome to SCB North America Business Meeting for Chapters. This is really just to talk about, what we can do at the regional level to help support the chapters and how to get you guys re-engaged back with us. So who we are, our vision for SCBNA is that we envision, a world of thriving biodiversity. We're really all about protecting biodiversity in all of its different forms. And that also means that we're not ignoring the social part of biodiversity, in that there are plenty of human problems that are in alignment with conservation, and there's no reason to be working on both those things at the same time. So our mission is to provide an environment that welcomes and supports and empowers diverse students and professionals. That's something that we really truly believe in. Everybody is welcome to SCBNA and SCB Global in general, and we want to continue to contribute and advance and apply conservation science best practices to the conservation community, and that's something that we will continue to be doing in the future. Our standing committees, we have policy, education, student affairs, we have environmental justice, and then inclusion and diversity. We have our conference committee, we have communications and chapters. I would say that the policy is probably one of the most active committees right now, where we're doing a lot of reviewing of policy, trying to strengthen our state agencies, as well as trying to comment on federal actions that are happening, as well as trying to help those who are actually working in policy and trying to come up with drafting letters and signing on to agreements with other organizations and things like that, so we can continue to fight the good fight for conservation as the US politics are changing and laws are changing pretty rapidly. Our membership, so we have about, I believe we have about 1,200 members right now, so 1,000 plus. And as I said, again, we're a part of North America. So actually, I earlier said Mexico, but it's actually Canada and the United States. Mexico is actually part of the Latin and Caribbean community for SCB. I just happen to say that because we are planning our next conference with them. So I always think about them, honestly, with us, but it is separated. Next slide. Yeah, leadership transition is going great. I actually became president back in July was when my term started, but I've been the president-elect for the past year. And then before that, I was working on the student affairs committee with some of our other board members. So I've been around for the last couple years, but this position is still new to me. But I have some great colleagues and coworkers with me, so we are all continuing on. So we have some outboard board members that are leaving, but then we, which is here, Rebecca McCaffrey, Martha Stewart, Martha and Grooms, and then and Brendan Reed. So they'll be outgoing. They've been with us for quite a long time. Some of them for the past couple of decades, really, that have been trying to work with us. And they will be moving on the committees, or they'll be jumping off the board. And Brendan's actually moving to Europe, so he's going to be hopefully joining the European organization. So that'll be fun. And then we have new board members coming on. Rebecca is our new chapter representative. We have Jumana for student affairs, and then Stephanie Clements for the vice president of education. Everybody is, of course, available for questions on email and for Zoom meetings and things like that. And then you see on the right, transition board members. I'm in the middle. Our past president was Rebecca Huft, and she's still aiding us and still working on the board. And then as Anna Weber is also now changing to our EID officer, so she'll still remain on the board. Just a quick summary. That's basically mostly what I said. I think a couple things to note here is that Lauren Janitis is on here as the Vice President of Policy. If you have any question about policy or interested in getting in touch with policy, you have maybe some letters or some local conservation issues that you would like to be, have a stronger part in. We help with those kinds of things by, providing letters, giving guidance. We do sign-ons and things like that. I've recently done something in the past year where I, looked for the policy committee to help me create a letter to actually try to change some of the decisions that the commissioners were making in California for white sturgeon conservation. It was being overharvested. We've been basically arguing with anglers over the past year about how to have best practices, and the policy committee really helped me out with that. So just something I wanted to notice. Let's move on to the next slide. Great. And then here is our new strategic plan, just available on our website. It's the new 2025 to 2030 strategic plan. We had some consultants come in and try to basically help us strategize about what we'd like to do, where we're going for the next 5 years. And that is available on our website. Like I said, you can go and read it. And I think the next one, great, is going to be the summary. So quickly, what I'm going to say is that there's 4 elements to the plan. We connect with people that are engaged in conservation. We are expanding and supporting our network of conservation scientists, which includes you guys. We are go ahead and continuing developing conservation science advocacy and engagement across North America, trying to also get these chapters involved back with us so we have more engagement at the local levels. And then we are continuing leadership development, which is really trying to increase the capacity of SCBNA and how much we can do as work and how much we can provide services toward our members. And then our North Stars are kind of where we are trying to align these elements, and really what are the top 3 major aims is that we're trying to build out our network, provide those opportunities for conservation, collaboration and scholar and partnerships, and then resource creation for our membership. Actually trying to put those toolkits out, provide those webinars, education, things like that, really trying to empower the membership. And then, of course, advocacy, like I said, supporting discussion and really trying to get at those policy decisions where we can really make a difference in some of this legislation and conservation issues. Next slide. And then, as I said, we have our committees. We have our board of directors, which we have slots opening in 2026. So if you're interested in being on the board of directors, you can always talk to us. We have our communications for our conferences and outreach. And then we have, of course, our other committees that are basically doing all of the different webinars and content providing content and just things like that. Programming is what we provide a lot of. Though the one thing I will say, I think, actually, what's the next slide real quick? Okay, so are the conferences, is NACCB in one of these slides? I'm sorry to forget to look.
It is, yeah.
Okay, great. Let's move on then.
Okay.
Well, the next slide.
And I'm going to go through a quick overview of our committees and what we do, sort of as a follow-up to Anderson's comment. Just in addition to the strategic plan, which is all focused on supporting our region and leaders within our region, including chapter leaders. It is also important to note that all of our committees, while they develop programming that is meant for everyone, they're also available to support individual programming for chapters. So everything that I'm going to mention now, all of the programs we have going on within our different committees, they are really meant to be a resource for chapters, right? So you can take these as examples of things you might want to do, or just reach out and see if any of these ideas resonate with you and you want to try something similar in your own local region, right? And so I'll briefly go over some of the main kind of programs that we have going on in each of the committees. For our policy committee, as Anderson mentioned, most of our work is focused on advocacy support, right? So the committee comes together once a month. We are usually keep up with some of the most recent actions on state and federal wildlife conservation issues. And when there is an action that we identify that matches with our mission as an organization, then we engage either in a common letter process or something similar, for example, developing toolkits to support specific policies or against specific rules. And then we publish those and make those available to our membership. That is sort of the bread and butter of the policy committee. But then in addition to that, we also create online webinars for a variety of different topics. Most recently, we created a series on state wildlife agencies and state level conservation work, which was really popular, and it's available for viewing on our YouTube page. And we're going to continue to expand on this this fall and then throughout the winter and spring of 2026 by focusing more on the use of scientific assessments for conservation, including the now canceled National Nature Assessment, but also the ongoing biodiversity and climate change assessment, and a new type of assessment called the United by Nature report. So if you're interested in anything that has to do with policy and advocacy, or any of these things resonate with you in your chapter, this is a great committee to reach out to. Likewise, our education committee is also focused. Oh, there we go. Our education committee is also focused on creating resources, mostly for folks that are within the educational space as a part of our society. That includes higher education professionals, but also K through 12, informal and out of school time educators. The committee primarily works to create innovative sessions at our biennial conference, which is the North American Congress for Conservation Biology. But over the last year or so, we've also developed a number of conservation education workshops. These are virtual interactive workshops that are meant to provide clear educational resources for folks to implement in their own classrooms. And then most recently, we also implemented our first Conservation Education Forum, which you can think of as a mini conference that took place virtually on August 5th and 6th and focused on bringing together conservation education professionals from a variety of backgrounds to give a couple of short presentations to attendees and also lead 1 hour workshops, again, kind of focus on creating resources for educational use. So this is really useful if you're looking to do something like this with local schools in your area or community organizations in your area. The Education Committee is a great resource to reach out to and to ask for more information on some of these subjects. The Student Affairs Committee also develops a lot of online programming. This is mostly focused on professional development. So think of skill building webinars or networking webinars that are meant to provide opportunities for students, specifically graduate students, but also undergraduate students and early career professionals in our field. A lot of these opportunities take place during our biannual conference, but we are trying to do a lot more virtually as well. There's a couple of really cool events that are coming up this fall. We have a mentor-mentee project that just went out. And then we're also planning a really interesting and interactive scavenger hunt that is hopefully going to incorporate a lot of chapter level activity as a part of that. But if you're interested in more of a professional development chapter, right? If you want to guide your chapter towards writing more resources for career-oriented students, then this is a great committee to reach out to and ask for support for some of those ideas. And then our Equity, Inclusion, and Diversity Committee. This is a somewhat unique committee because it provides support to all of our other committees, and it provides advice and feedback to ensure that all of our programs are equitable and accessible by as broad an audience as possible. This also includes a lot of our sessions and our overall programming for our biannual Congress. But in addition to that, the committee also comes up with their own programs for dissemination with our members. And they also create their own workshops and other events at our biannual conference. One thing that I wanted to mention, which is really popular and that we're continuing to work on now, is our allyship program and our allyship video series. This series is available on our website and YouTube channel. And right now the committee is working on a curriculum in order for educators and really anyone who's interested in this to screen the video series and also lead folks through like a guided discussion of what of why having a diverse set of professionals in our field is important. So if you're interested in this, reaching out to the committee would be a good next step. And I also mentioned that the committee has recently started updating on a regular basis a page that includes resources on a variety of different things. This includes just reading materials on DEI-related topics, but also job-related web pages, legal advice for folks currently in the conservation field, And we're starting to think of additional topics that we might want to provide support in. So if you're interested in any of this, or if your chapter is looking for resources on any of these topics, this is a great page to navigate to. And as I mentioned before, we're always updating it. We also have a couple of crowdsourcing surveys going on. So anyone who's a member, but even non-members of SCBNA can go in, submit a response to one of those surveys, and then it'll automatically pop up for you to view. So this is, I think, a great way to just capture the level of expertise and resources available within our North America community. And then the last thing that I wanted to mention in terms of committees, because I have a lot of information that I just threw at you, is that we usually post a recap of all the things we do across all of our different committees once a month or once every 2 months, depending on how many programs we have going on. This is meant to just remind our members that these resources are available to you. All of our online programs, workshops, webinars, what have you, are available on our YouTube side. All of the resources that are used as a part of these programs are also available on our website. So even if you miss one, you can always go back in and check those out and use them as needed. And our website also has all the most up-to-date information on upcoming programs. I'm really excited to say that for the remainder of fall and winter of 2025, we pretty much have a full program schedule of about one event per week. And that falls across all of our different committees. So if you're interested in conservation education or policy or professional development, there's bound to be something that is useful to you and your chapter over the next few months. Okay, and then the last, I think Anderson kind of talked about this, but the last thing we'll cover jointly is our next biannual Congress, which we are currently renaming as the North American Congress for Conservation and Restoration. The reason being that we are co-hosting this Congress with the Society for Ecological Restoration and SER's Midwest Great Lakes chapter. We always encourage chapters to attend our biannual conferences if you can, but I think this is one that you won't want to miss because it's going to be really it's going to be new in a lot of ways, including the fact that it's being co-hosted with another large scientific society. There's going to be a lot of overlap and interdisciplinary research going on and interdisciplinary conversations taking place. It's going to be a slightly longer conference than what we usually do in years past. It's going to include a lot of unique conference elements, including potentially another version of a conservation education forum. So these are all, great opportunities for chapters. And I'll also mention that SCBNA always comes out with a chapters related grant fund for travel. The amount of funds that we had available for 2024 weren't used fully. So we are now trying to reach out to chapters as much as we can and remind you all that funding is available to you and your chapter if you want to attend the meeting, and can be used towards accommodations or registration or for tickets. Pretty much anything that gets you to the conference, your chapter can apply for that. Anderson, anything else you want to add for NACCR?
For NACCR, I think that this conference, like you were saying, it's going to be fresh, I think, because since we are aligning ourselves and working with the Society Ecological Restoration, I think this conference is especially going to be good for networking for all disciplines and fields, because we're going to have not only a ton, we're going to have hundreds of conservation biologists and scientists, geneticists, but we're also going to have hundreds of basically like restoration ecologists that are really looking at like a lot of more plant data, looking at communities, and we're really hoping to bridge that intersection between the two. So I'm very excited for this conference. I think it's just going to have a lot of new faces, and it's going to be a lot of really cool information and just a lot of cross-pollination between a lot of different labs and a lot of different organizations. So I'm very excited for it.
And related to NACCR, something else that we wanted to mention, and for chapters to keep an eye out for, is that we are co-hosting the next international version of SCB's conferences in 2027. So each region has its own conference on even years. The Global Society has an international conference in odd years. And And so in 2027, North America will be co-hosting the International Congress with the Latin American and Caribbean region. It will take place in Puebla, Mexico, at some point during the summer of 2027. So if you've ever been interested in attending one of our ICCBs, which is usually attended by more than 1,000 people, and it's really cool, then this is a great opportunity to do so at a location that is relatively close to home for most of our chapters. And again, it is likely that we'll have chapter travel funding for that one. There's going to be a lot of opportunities for chapters to engage in the conference, including opportunities to collaborate with chapters from other regions, because North America isn't the only region that has chapters. And a lot of our regions, a lot of our colleagues in other regions do a great job of engaging and maintaining an active set of chapters.
Perfect. So now we are going to jump into some more chapter-specific resources. So we have recently been updating all of our information that is helpful to our chapter members and leaders, such as a revised chapter guide, which has a lot of FAQs and helpful tips and guidelines for how chapters function best. In addition to our agreement, our bylaws, and our charters, which I know some folks here are interested in restarting some chapters. Those are documents that will all be useful for that as well, as far as, officer terms and, kind of making sure that we are all in alignment with the goals of SCB as a society. And I will also drop all of these documents can be found on our website, and I'll drop the link to that as well so you can go over them after this meeting. But I know something that folks are always interested in too is like the grant application, which is also something that we have streamlined. So it is now a Google form, which should be pretty simple and straightforward to fill out. It is basically just looking at, what is your project? What are your goals? What is your budget? And then how will you carry these things out? There is a specific pool of resources financially that we do have available per each funding cycle. And so it's not quite a first come, first serve basis, but we will be trying to do what we can to split the money as equitably as possible between our chapters. And of course, you are always welcome to contact Bernie and I if you have a question or an idea and are looking for support on how to kind of flesh that out. Bernie, was there anything you wanted to add about our grant applications or anything?
I think the only thing, in addition to what Becca mentioned, is just a reminder that in order for chapters to receive funding, if you've been selected for funding, one of the requirements that we've included is attendance at our regularly scheduled chapter business meetings. So this is the first one of our newly revamped meeting schedule. We are hoping to hold a meeting every September and February, so fall and spring. And we'll open the grant applications before that. Folks can submit those, we'll review them. And if you've been selected to receive some funding, you'll be expected to attend the business meeting. We make that a requirement so that you receive the most up-to-date information on what's going on with chapters, but also just as a way for you to get additional resources and support. If you do have a lot of some funding awarded to you for a specific idea, but are looking for additional non-funding support, then attending a business meeting is probably useful. So that's just a quick reminder in terms of logistics. And then the way of dispersing funding to chapters will likely vary. I believe most of our chapters are university-based, which means that we'll probably route funding through whatever university you're based at. But if you happen to be one of a few chapters that are not university-based, then we'll probably have a conversation in terms of how that funding can be dispersed to you so that you can use it for your chapter projects.
Bernie? In addition to that, we do have a brand new chapter registration form. And this is, again, it's a Google form. We have recently transitioned to the Global Society of SCB, to our own registration form because we are now the ones in control of chapter registration. So again, this should be a relatively simple form to fill out, but you can always email us if you have any questions. We do ask that in the future you guys fill out this form by January 31st of each year, but it is a new form. So if your chapter has not already filled it out, we just ask that you do so now or as soon as possible. And again, we're just basically looking for, how many members do you have? What kinds of activities are you involved in? And this is so that we can all kind of stay up to date on what our chapters are doing. I know that a lot of our communication was kind of lost during COVID. A lot of chapters went dormant. And so we're really just looking to kind of rebuild that network. And so we can all collaborate and really celebrate what each other has going on, but then also to work together to reinvigorate our network as a whole. So we thank you for your cooperation in our new chapter registration form.
And I think it's also important to mention that, as part of the grant funding and other resources available to chapters, we do ask that chapters remain in good standing in order to have access to those resources and that funding. And that includes submitting an annual chapter registration. Otherwise, it's really easy to lose track of chapters. And then if you reach out to us, 3 years after submitting your registration, then we don't really know what's going on. And it becomes more difficult for us to work with whoever is chapter leader at that time.
In addition to your chapter registration, we also do ask that all members of your chapter are also associate members of SCBNA or SCB. This is a brand new membership level that actually has no cost associated with it. So now that there is a option that doesn't have any financial barriers, we do ask again that folks do become associate members of SCB at the minimum. And this, again, is just basically a registration. That way the society can keep track of, who the members are, what they're doing. Again, it all builds our network so we can collaborate more and also be able to stay in touch about future opportunities. This is also the key that unlocks, the ability to apply for the SCB chapter grants and for our conference travel grants, in addition to, being to access our newsletters and all of this really awesome updated information. And this is also a requirement of being a part of a chapter is to at least be an associate member. But if you can, and a lot of our professionals are also full members of SCB, and this is a paid membership that will include additional benefits such as, being able to have a network of job posting boards and access to the journal, which if you're not aware, SCB has a journal that we help run that helps. It shows a lot of really great updated research. I will also put in our chat a link to this membership sign up just in case you are not already a member. But again, this just helps with the with being able to keep track of everyone.
And as part of the registration process, once you become an SCB member, be it a paid member or being an associate member, you'll have the opportunity to highlight what chapter you're a part of. Tell us, you'll be able to tell the region, hey, I'm part of North America, but I'm also part of the Toronto chapter, right? And that creates a really useful way for other regions and other chapters to maybe reach out to you for advice, and also just allows you to network a lot more with the global society. So that's another benefit as well. You're not only signing up to be part of North America, but you're signing up to be part of the global society too.
And then, of course, again, trying to reestablish our networks and connecting with everyone. We would love if you have social media to go ahead and give us a follow. On Instagram, that's at SCB North America. We're also on Blue Sky, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Feel free to drop your chapter's Instagram in the chat or website if you guys have one. Again, if you ever have any ideas on how our chapters can be better connected, that way we can all support each other. We are always open to hearing about how we can be building that network.
Our social media channels are also the best way to receive up-to-date information. We try as much as possible to over-communicate whenever we have an event or a program or a new program up and running via our social networks. So if you're interested in any of the upcoming events on our webpage, social media is the best way to get updates on those. that are as timely as possible.
And thank you guys all for attending. Does anybody have any questions for us?